Welcome back to the Become Your Own Muse podcast. I am Danielle Lowy, your host. And today I want to talk about the financial impact that confidence has. And I know a lot of people, when they think about confidence and being your most powerful self, you think about happiness, you think about having better relationships with people. But I think there's a very important aspect of confidence, especially when you build intrinsic, powerful, authentic confidence, that it actually directly correlates with your finances, with the money that is available to you. And it's no coincidence that the more confident that you get, the richer you are likely to get as well. And there's a lot of reasons why for this. So today I want to get into the 10 ways that building intrinsic confidence is going to make you richer. It's going to impact your bank account. So the first way is, number one, you no longer have to buy your way out of insecurities. So the more insecure you are, the more that you are driven by external validation, whether it is through clothing or like your car or your house or anything that involves you looking a certain way, appearing a certain way, needing that validation from other people that you are worthy, you are good enough, whatever it is. The more that you get rid of your insecurities, the more that you try to buy your confidence through makeup, clothes, bathing suits, having a cool car, having a cool house, whatever your vice is. I know for me, mine was always makeup and clothing. I was like, oh, if I just buy this next piece of clothing, or if I just learn this new way to contour my face with this new makeup brand that came out, like this is going to be the solution to my confidence. I'm finally going to feel like my best self, like my most confident self. And sure enough, every time I would buy the makeup or the clothes or whatever it is, it was like it never fulfilled me, because of course my insecurities and that inner critic was not anything outside of me. It was totally inside my own head. And so that the materialistic things are never going to do it for you. And what I see a lot of times with my clients is the more that we work on their levels of confidence, the more their bank account increases, because they don't feel the need to always be spending money on, makeup or clothes or whatever. I had a client one time who her thing was she was so insecure and she would compulsively buy nail polish. Like that was her thing. And as soon as we started working on increasing her levels of like true intrinsic confidence and did the intrinsic confidence work, she noticed that she's like, oh, I actually haven't bought nail polish in a while. And it's like, yeah, because you don't need that outside thing, that materialistic thing, the clothes, the makeup, whatever it is, to try to grasp on as hard as you can to be like, can I please have this be my thing that brings me confidence? It's like, no, you actually find that with yourself. So you don't really need anything else. So what happens is, when you do go to buy those things, it's not to say that you won't buy things anymore. You can absolutely buy things that bring you happiness, but you do it from a much more mature place about this is going to bring happiness into my life. This is very intentional. This is something that I truly want, versus coming from a scarcity mindset of I hope this thing brings me the happiness that I am craving. It's like I already have the happiness, but this thing's going to enhance my life because I just like want to buy it. There's a huge difference in the way that you spend your money when you operate from insecurities versus when you are intrinsically confident. The next thing, number two, how this is going to impact your bank account and how confidence is going to make you richer, is the more that you get rid of your insecurities, the less that you will feel the need to spend your money on substances to try to give you confidence and to try to make your personality more fun, right? There is a direct correlation I find with people who, when they start to truly build intrinsic confidence, they actually don't feel the need to heavily rely on alcohol or other substances to try to create this fun, outgoing, confident personality, because you're actually now sourcing that from yourself. You don't really need those things anymore. So when you are out and you have like that social anxiety that you have, where you're like, oh, I need to grab a drink, or you had a bad day, like I need to grab a drink, like I need to get into the persona of who I need to be fun and outgoing and likable by these people. You don't feel that need anymore because you feel confident yourself and secure in yourself. When you have discomfort in social situations, when you feel like you're not good enough, or people aren't going to like you, or there's some kind of discomfort externally, that's always going to stem from discomfort you have internally. Your external world is always going to reflect your internal world. So if you are having social anxiety, it's because you have some kind of internal discomfort, whether you're not accepting yourself, you don't feel like you're good enough, you don't feel like you're outgoing enough, talkative enough, shy enough, direct enough, like whatever your thing is, like there's some part of you that you're not accepting, that you feel the need to rely on alcohol to bring that out of you. It's not to say that once you become confident, you stop drinking. But again, kind of like the spending example, it's a very different energy when you are buying and consuming alcohol solely to enhance your personality because you don't have that confidence internally versus, hey, I actually just want to have a drink because I want to, right? It's a very different energy. It's an overflow energy versus a very scarcity energy of I actually rely on this for my personality. So naturally, when you are not relying on alcohol or another substance to enhance and create your personality when you are out, you're going to spend less money on that. And all the other things that just comes with alcohol, like you're going to spend less money on the alcohol itself. You're going to spend less money on the drunken food that you probably will get that night, less money on the anxiety food you get the next day. Like all around, you're just going to notice a decrease in the amount of money that you're spending on these substances to try to create your personality. Number 3, the more you get rid of your insecurities, the less you are going to feel the need to emotionally spend to make yourself feel better when you have a bad day. All right? Because when you do not know how to regulate and have control over your emotions, it's quite natural to feel frustrated, sad, not worthy, down on yourself, shame, guilt, and immediately be like, I'm going to pull myself out of this by opening up the Amazon app. I'm going to pull myself out of this by going to the mall. I'm going to pull myself out of this by going somewhere to try to spend my way and get this thing and this hit of dopamine from the object I'm spending to try to regulate this negative emotion I'm feeling or try to counter this bad feeling I'm feeling about myself, right? So when you can actually learn how to build intrinsic confidence, you become very in control over your emotions, your mindsets, your behaviors, and you don't need to rely on outside sources to try to change them. Again, going back to the discomfort thing, when you do not have intrinsic confidence, you have a really hard time dealing with uncomfortable emotions, whether you are frustrated, whether you maybe did something that you're not very proud of and you have this like guilt, whatever the negative emotion may be, you're going to have a hard time internalizing it. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to distract yourself from feeling that feeling, and you're going to go and try to buy your way out of it, right? And I know this is something that I did very regularly and why I ultimately racked up $12,000 of credit card debt at one time. But when you can learn how to be so in control of your emotions, because at the end of the day, confidence equals control. And when you build the self-awareness and that relationship with yourself, you learn to become very comfortable dealing with uncomfortable emotions. And because of that, you become very good at navigating your way out of it. So it's like, I can feel this, I can feel what's going on, and I can move through it pretty quickly because you are now in control and you've desensitized yourself to be able to feel uncomfortable things. Most people, I do not believe, can do this. I truthfully believe that a lot of people do not have an actual relationship with themselves. They're just kind of existing in the body that they're in, and they don't actually feel, deal with, sit with the emotions that they're feeling. So it becomes really hard to navigate through difficult situations entirely with yourself because you need some other thing to help you move through it, okay? So when you build intrinsic confidence, you don't feel the need to always spend your money to try to get yourself out of a bad headspace. You can completely do that yourself and control that yourself without needing to spend the money. Number 4 is when you become very confident, the more you're going to be able to advocate for yourself. And what this means is this is gonna impact a few different ways. So when you are someone who has a hard time advocating for yourself, that means you have a hard time saying no to people. You're probably a people pleaser. So when you become intrinsically confident, if a friend asks you to go somewhere and spend money and you're like, I actually really don't want to do that, but I feel really bad to say no, or, oh, I just like owe this person, or this person came with me last time, but you truthfully don't want to go, and the thing that you're going to is not a financial priority for you right now, you're going to have a really hard time saying no if you do not have that internal confidence. However, when you do build intrinsic confidence, you are fine saying no. If something doesn't align with your needs, your desires, your financial priorities, you're going to have a very easy time standing up for yourself and advocating for yourself and saying, no, actually, that's not something I want to do. Right? So it's being able to advocate for yourself. Maybe this shows up in so many different ways, especially throughout friendships, where maybe you're out at a restaurant and you just had like an appetizer and the rest of your friends had a full meal, and people are like, hey, we're just going to split the bill, right? And you're like, well, I didn't have as much as everyone else. If you don't have that confidence, if you're not able to advocate for yourself, you might just be like, okay, fine. And next thing you know, you've gone through like 5 meals where you've paid way more than you should have because you didn't speak up and say, no, actually, this is the proportion of this bill that I feel like I should pay. So it's a lot of like little examples with avocation, but it really does add up over the long run. And another way that this is going to show up too is you have to be your own biggest advocate. Like no one is going to advocate for you more than yourself. So if you're not the one advocating for your career and you're not able to go to your boss and say, hey, I've been working on this project, I've been doing such great work and I deserve a promotion or I deserve a raise, you're not going to be able to do that if you don't feel comfortable advocating for yourself. The people who have internal confidence are the ones who are asking for promotions, who are asking for raises, who are speaking up for themselves when they deserve something. Therefore, they're going to move along faster in their career. They're going to make more money because they are the ones speaking up, because they know that no one else is going to advocate for them more than themselves. So they take that opportunity and they do it more than anyone else. Number 5, when you get rid of your insecurities, the less you're going to care about what other people think, and the more you're going to pursue the things that you want to do. Meaning, if you have the idea for a business or a side hustle, you're going to have a lot higher of a success rate because you are confident, because you're not caring what other people think. You're not caring what Sally from high school is thinking when you go to promote yourself and your services on social media. You don't care what your uncle at Thanksgiving is going to say when he downplays your tiny little side hustle, right? You don't care about any of that because you are confident, you are zoned in, you are focused on what you want to do and what brings you happiness and your goals, that you have no problem selling your products or your offers. You have no problem putting yourself out there. You have no problem looking embarrassing or dumb to other people because you want to go after your goals, right? So you have a much higher probability of creating a second source of income or generating more wealth for yourself because you will go after what you want to go after without asking yourself, what is that person going to think? Like that is the last thing in your mind that you were thinking about when you were executing towards your goals. You're thinking, what do I think? What do I want to go after? And what everyone else thinks, that actually doesn't matter. That actually doesn't impact you because these are your goals. This is your life. This is what you want to go after. And you know that so deeply and you have so much confidence in yourself that other people's opinions don't shake you in the slightest. Number 6, you will have confidence let me rephrase that. You will have more conviction in the way that you sell yourself if you are going back to this like side hustle or business idea. If you have this confidence, confident individuals are better at showcasing their skills, their expertise, their accomplishments, which can really lead back to being more successful in your business, being more successful in your career, right? When you are able to and so let me give you a perfect example. So for my business, I do a lot of my promotion online, and the way that I work with people, the way that I build awareness around my work and my business and getting clients is I show up and I have to sell myself, right? I'm not selling a product. I'm selling myself. I'm selling you working with me to enhance the confidence in your life. And if I didn't have confidence, it would be really hard for me to come online and be like, you should work with me. I'd be very timid, and people who are timid, who don't believe in themselves, who have fears around their own capabilities are not going to show up with as strong of conviction as people who do. So the people who are confident, the people who believe in themselves, the people who are driven solely by the motivation internally, not what everyone else is thinking, they're going to be more successful. They're going to get more clients. They're going to get more speaking opportunities. They're going to get more partnerships. And all of those things are ultimately going to contribute to your wealth and your income generating activities. Number 7, the way you start to care more about financial literacy is because when you become confident, you start to respect yourself a lot more, and that includes you respecting your money. You learn very quickly, and this is something I know money is a huge part of building confidence. It's a lot of the work that I do with my clients of when you, I hear this all the time, when you start to build these levels of confidence, all of a sudden you're noticing that you have more money in your bank account, that you feel more in control over your finances. And it's because confidence plays such a role in personal finance management. You have to care enough about your money, about the way your money flows in and out, the goals that you have. You have to start thinking long term. When you start respecting yourself because you've built your levels of confidence, you start to look at the way you spend your money a lot differently. You start to be way more intentional. You start to want to have way more control over your life because confidence equals control. And if there's something in your life that you feel out of control of, it's going to feed back into your levels of confidence. So when you start to feel, hey, I don't really feel in control of my money, that's going to be a red flag. And you're going to say, hey, I'm someone who's confident. I'm someone who respects myself in every other area of my life. I need to get my money on board too. So you start caring more about becoming financially literate. You start caring more about long-term financial planning. You start caring more about how your money flows in and out. And all of a sudden, you now are controlling your money instead of it controlling you. You're generating, your savings account on autopilot. You are setting up your bills so that they flow a certain way so that you're not confused or overwhelmed about which bill is pulling from where. Like you have all of your financial shit in order because you are someone who is confident and you control everything that happens in your life and it does not control you. Number 8, when you build extreme levels of confidence, you become very trusting of yourself and you are able to know that you're capable of learning how to do certain things and you're capable of moving through challenging situations. And you learn that you have the self-trust to learn how to manage your own investments. When you become kind of similar to the last, number 7, when you start to really respect yourself, think about long-term financial planning, think about your long-term goals, thinking about setting yourself up for success, you start to care a lot more about investing your money, about building wealth, because you respect yourself, you therefore respect your money, and you respect the way that it works for you. So you start to make it a priority to learn how to be financially literate and learn how to manage your own investments, build your own wealth portfolio. And before that, if you do not have the trust and the confidence, you're going to look at something like that and be like, oh, that's scary. That's not for me. But when you're authentically confident, you're like, this is scary. I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to figure it out because this is important to me. I respect my time. I respect my money. I respect my lifestyle. I respect my goals. So I'm going to be someone who figures it out. There's a big difference between when you are someone who is insecure, who does not trust themselves, who hasn't built that internal level of self-trust, that you see these challenging things that come up and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And then you kind of talk yourself out of it, or you go, oh, I'll learn it in like a year or 2 or 5 years or whatever. And then that story just keeps on happening versus someone who is intrinsically confident and is like, I know this is a priority and I'm going to figure it out. So that's a huge difference between someone who has built confidence and someone who hasn't. Number 9, when you become very confident, and this is similar to being able to advocate for yourself, but you start becoming really comfortable being able to handle uncomfortable conversations. Like that just becomes the norm for you. You no longer get super flustered, or like when the moment you want to have a conversation with someone, you like your hands feel sweaty and you feel like you want to throw up. That's not the case. You don't feel like I just want to be the nice girl and I don't want to cause like a conflict. That conversation, that internal dialogue doesn't happen anymore. You are used to handling uncomfortable conversations, or what other people may think are uncomfortable, but are just kind of a norm for you. And you don't get flustered by that anymore because you've built your levels of confidence. And so you are able to negotiate bills. You're able to negotiate prices on, I don't know, like maybe you're going on a vacation and there's like an excursion. You're able to negotiate. Maybe you're buying something from Facebook Marketplace. You're able to negotiate. You, again, have more control over your money and the way that you spend it because you're able to advocate for yourself because you are used to having uncomfortable conversations. There's so many conversations that I have nowadays that I'm like, I would have never been able to have this conversation a few years ago because I wasn't able to hold the discomfort with myself internally. So therefore I couldn't have these conversations externally. But now it's like I can have these conversations in my sleep and it doesn't bother me in the slightest. So when you build that intrinsic confidence, the things that used to feel really uncomfortable for you no longer feel uncomfortable for you anymore. And number 10, how building confidence is going to make you richer is when you become more confident, a natural thing that happens is you become more present, you become more enjoyable to be around. Like you just have this different energy about you where people just tend to gravitate towards you. And this isn't to say you're necessarily someone who is super outgoing or super loud, because I am not necessarily someone who is super loud. I'm actually a bit more soft-spoken, a bit more passive. So it's not about being loud or being outgoing. It's just like you have this frequency and this energy that you operate at because you're so secure in who you are. And naturally what happens when you build confidence is you just start to be a lot more present with the situations you're in and the conversations that you're in. And so you start having conversations with people. They start being more attracted to you because you have this energy, this positivity about you. So therefore, you start creating connections with people that open up opportunities for yourself that you probably wouldn't have had otherwise, right? The more you talk to people, the more, they might think of you for a job referral. They might think of you for a speaking opportunity. They might bring clients to you because you told them what you do for work. Whatever it is, the more that you work on your own internal confidence, the more you can be confident to other people. And the more that energy is going to impact them to the point of they're going to think about you in the future, right? If you're not impactful to people, you're going to have that conversation with them. They're never going to think about you again. But if you have this like presence and this warmth and this charisma about you, they're going to remember you and they're going to think of you when future opportunities come down the line. So those are, I feel like I could go on for probably like 20 more, but those are the top 10 reasons of why working on your levels of confidence are going to make you richer. If you enjoyed this episode, please shoot me a message over on Instagram at Danielle Marie Lowy. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear how you are using confidence to increase your bank account, and I will see you guys in the next episode.